Hello, my impatience. It is I, Andrew the Android Kowalski here. I am live and I'm ready to perform for all of you. I am live and I'm ready to perform for all of you. How art thou, my impatience? How art thou? We got Dukem in the house. We got Dukem in the house. How art thou, Dukem? How art thou? All right. I am live. Pete says, what's going on? So, do you think my parents are sadists who had nefarious intentions, or do you think that's an emotional switch? Do you think they pharmacologically abused me, or do you think their intentions were not nefarious? Pete says, no, I don't think your parents' intentions were nefarious. I think they always had good intentions when it came to you. Okay, toggle the emotional switch to off and calm down and have a good day. Well, I got the art class today at 1, which is going to be fun. So there's paint about this. Yeah, that's a good idea. Flip the switch in my brain. It's like there's a switch in my brain. You know, flip it, flip the switch, and go back to my parents love me. Flip the emotional switch in my brain to off. Toggle the switch to off. So how are you doing, guys? What are you doing today? Any fun plans? Rusty says sigh. What are you sighing about, Rusty? You know, Pete says he's eating Cheez-Its. Yeah, I'm hungry. I would love some Cheez-Its right now, to be honest with you. I'm hungry. I'm looking for something to eat. You know, on one hand, I say my mother's a sadistic persecutor who tortured me. On the other hand, I want to call her and say, Mom, I need food to eat. Give me some food, God damn it. Give me some food. That's quite contradictory. Erie says, well, yes. Well, yes, what, Erie? Well, yes, what? Erie says, well, yes. Well, yes, what, Erie? Erie says, I can give you 3 clues. All right, give me 3 clues, Erie. Erie says, are you ready for the 3 clues? Without fail, most definitely. Yeah. Check out me the 3 clues. Hold on, we got to. Erie says, the first clue, there's a man in a smiling bag. Okay, fair enough. That's the first clue. So a man in a smiling bag. All right, what's the second clue? I'm thinking Chinese food. Don't they have like the "Have a nice day" Chinese food bags? The second clue is the owls are not what they seem. So I think that would be, obviously my parents are lying and gaslighting me. They had nefarious intentions. So smiling bag, have a nice day, Chinese food. My parents are not what they seem. And let's see what the third clue is. Somebody says, without chemicals, he points. So my parents gave me a chemical lobotomy with a mega regimen of psychiatric medications to torture me. And have a nice day would be like, I'm kind of like Mick Foley from the WWE. They gave me a lot of chair shots to the head and caused neurological damage and might have given me, cancer and so on. And their intentions were not good. And they used Dr. Copeland like a puppet to pharmacologically abuse me. But at the end of the day, I'm going to succeed, and everybody's going to view me like I'm like Mick Foley, and I'm going to be like, have a nice day. And I'm going to be like the lovable oaf with brain damage. Is that what it is? Did I solve it, Erie? That's what I thought from the three clues. Rusty says, ask the magic 8-ball. The magic 8-ball. All right, let's ask it. Did I solve Erie's puzzle? What does the magic 8-ball say? Shake the 8-ball. Not so good. Outlook not so. Apparently, I didn't solve Erie's puzzle. Well, let's ask the magic 8-ball again and see if it gives me a different answer. Yeah, I don't know. So the magic 8-ball said I didn't solve Erie's puzzle. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, the first clue is there's a man in a smiling bag. So I'm thinking like Chinese food, have a nice day, a smiling bag. The second clue, the owls are not what they seem. So I think that's my parents are not what they seem. The third clue is without chemicals, he points. Somebody says, why are your parents the owls? That's a good point. Don't jump to the conclusion my parents are the owls. Who are the owls? Who are not what they seem? This is a good one, Erie. His noodle is really cooking right now. I give up, Erie. Can you give me the answer? Erie says fairy godmother. Erie's my fairy godmother who's going to make me rich and famous? No, that's not it either. Erie's going to come and say, you're going to be a millionaire and a billionaire, and she's going to wave the magic wand and make me rich and famous. Is that what it's going to be? Erie says no. All right. Damn it, Erie. Can you give me the answer? This is really Erie says she cannot give me. Rusty, do you have any ideas? So the first clue, there's a man in a smiling bag. So I'm thinking Chinese food. Like have a nice day, Mick Foley. The second clue, the owls are not what they seem. Owls. So maybe the impatients, the people on social media are not what they seem. The third clue, without chemicals, he points. So maybe without my chemical lobotomy, without my psychiatric medication, I blame others and say they are sadistic. There's a man in a smiling bag. So have a nice day, Mick Foley. The second clue is the owls are not what they seem. Oh, my parents have good intentions. Without chemicals, he points. Without my chemical lobotomy, I say they're sadists, but they really had good intentions. My parents were really trying to help me, but without my chemical lobotomy and without my mega regimen of psychiatric medication, I point at them and say they're sadistic persecutors. Is that it, Erie? Is it that my parents really had good intentions and they were trying to help me, but without my chemical lobotomy, without my mega regimen of psychiatric medication, I point my finger at them and call them sadists? Erie, is that the correct answer? All right, you giving me dead air here, Erie. You got to respond quicker, please. You got to respond quicker. All right, let's ask the Magic 8 Ball if I solved Erie's puzzle here. Magic 8 Ball online free. Did I solve Erie's puzzle? Okay, let's see what the Magic 8 Ball says. Outlook is good. So I solved it, Erie. The Magic 8 Ball says I solved it. Somebody asks, I wonder if there's a paid premium Magic 8 Ball. According to the Magic 8 Ball, I solved the riddle. Somebody says, I don't know how accurate the free Magic 8 Balls are. Well, I mean, it gives me ideas of reference. Erie says she cannot confirm or deny. Well, the Magic 8 Ball said, basically, with the answer is with Mick Foley, have a nice day. Without the psychiatric medication, I point my finger at my parents. My parents are not what they seem. They're not sadists. They're not monsters. Their intentions have always been good. But without my medication, I think they're sadists who tortured me. So the Magic 8 Ball said that. So someone says, Andrew Foley, have a nice day. My parents were not giving me chair shots to the head to torture me. Quite frankly. So he says, what if your father was actually Rey Mysterio? He's too tall to be Rey Mysterio. I think Rey Mysterio is like 5'2" or 5'4". My father's like 6 foot. This is good point. Oh, you mean what if my biological father was actually Rey Mysterio, and my father? Well, I have suspicions that Owen Hart is my biological father, or Chris Benoit is my biological father, or Billy Joel is my biological father, or Sid Barrett is my biological father. I'll read to you that email Dr. Garrett wrote to me in regards to that. But I'm under the impression at the moment Robert Kowalski is my biological father. So, I proclaimed Owen Hart is my biological father because we resemble each other. I'm going to share with you Dr. Garrett's replies about Sid Barrett from years ago. Dr. Garrett said on February 2nd, 2019, that kind of thinking is predicate logic. If two things share a single attribute, look alike, they are equivalent or equal. If you look like someone, you have the same father. That is predicate logic. He said on October 2nd, 2020, we all resemble one or more people in the world, but that doesn't prove a blood tie. He said on March 13th, 2021, I have a strong suspicion that you look at least like 100 or more people other than Owen Hart, many of whom are not famous. Strange, though not so strange because we know why, you should be so selective to emphasize your similarity to Hart when many other comparisons are possible. He said on January 18th, 2022, because people aren't infinitely unique, everyone looks a bit like other people in the world. I look a bit like some famous people, and I'm sure I look a bit like some people who are not wealthy. I probably look a bit like a few people who are in jail if I looked hard enough at jailhouse pictures. Why not? But you are selective in your imagination. You only think about the rich, interesting, famous people you look a bit like. Why don't you assume that you are a son of a guy who drives a bus or has some other modest station in life to whom you bear a resemblance? We know the answer to that. Basically, Robert Kowalski is my biological father. Well, let's ask the Magic 8 Ball, is Robert Kowalski my biological father? Let's ask the Magic 8 Ball. The Magic 8 Ball knows all. Magic 8 Ball. Okay. Is Robert Kowalski my biological father? Is Robert Kowalski my biological father? It is certain. It's the Magic 8 Ball says Robert Kowalski is my father. Therefore, my father is Robert. The Magic 8 Ball said Robert Kowalski is my biological father. Therefore, it must be Robert Kowalski. Somebody says, "Why?" Believe it or not, I was, as I was reading that, I was like toggling in and out of, is Owen Hart my father? Is that really the secret, or is my father? So somebody says, "Why are you reading that?" Because it helps me catch it, check it, change it. Because I was toggling in and out of the suspicion that Robert isn't my father, but he is. I resemble Robert. Somebody said, "No, I'm dead serious, Xerox. I'm dead serious." My mind was swinging. When somebody mentioned, the biological father thing, the suspicion that maybe he's not my father definitely crept into my mind, and it inspired me to read the email. But all evidence is, he's been my father my whole life. They're not keeping a secret from me. I like to daydream. Obviously, when the truth is revealed and I discover Owen Hart is my father, it's going to be wild. It's going to be like I'm going to be a rock star, but apparently that's not so. And it's just a suspicion that I'm coming to a feeling of conviction of, and just catch it, end it. All evidence is Robert Kowalski is my father. Toggle the switch to off. Don't even indulge the daydreams. Don't come to a feeling of conviction about daydreams. It's a fun fantasy, but that's all it is. It's a daydream. It's a fantasy, and that's what I have to accept. My life is sad and empty, and if Owen Hart or anybody were a rich, famous, or interesting person were my father, maybe my life would be more exciting. But it's just a fantasy. It's just a daydream. It's like daydreaming. Taylor Swift knows you. It's like daydreaming. John Cena knows you. It's like daydreaming anything, really. It's just a daydream. It's not real. It's a delusion. No, Owen Hart was not my father. I've daydreamed that before, and I've come to a feeling of conviction he was, but it's not true. My mother probably doesn't even know who the fuck Owen Hart is. Just the key is to live in the real world. The key is to develop interpersonal relationships. Why would you need to daydream Owen Hart, or anybody for that matter, was your biological father? If you had a girlfriend, if you had a life, if you had self-esteem, you wouldn't. I mean, basically, my life is sad and empty, and I just daydream, and just just go out there, get self-esteem, get a life, get independent. You don't need to. So he says, yeah, you really need to talk to a woman, get a life, get financial independence, get self-esteem in the real world, and then you won't need the daydreams anymore. You won't need the Joanne Greenberg fantasy world. You won't need the daydream pop stars like Taylor Swift or Olivia Rodrigo love you. You'll be living in reality. You won't be living in a delusional fantasy world. You know. Because I didn't have friends, because I didn't have interpersonal relationships, the line between fantasy and reality got blurred in my mind. This is fantasy, this is reality, and the line got blurred. So when most people daydream, wouldn't it be fun to be a movie star? They realize they're daydreaming. For me, because I had no other self-esteem in my life, the line got blurred, and I just come to feelings of conviction that famous people know me, that rock stars are my father, and I got lost in a delusional fantasy world. And most people, when they daydream, they're able to tell they're daydreaming. Me, I just come to feelings of conviction, and it becomes reality for me. So that's a problem. You got to be able to catch it, check it, change it. You got to be able to put the brakes on, say no. Owen Hart is not my father. Robert Kowalski is, and he always has been. And that's what you got to do, guys. That's what you got to do. And that one's a little bit easier to spot. That one's a little bit easier to toggle out of because it's a little absurd, But, sometimes thinking my parents are persecutors and had nefarious intentions, that kind of delusion might not be as easy to spot as thinking somebody rich, famous, or interesting is my biological father, because that one, even though it can feel real, it's a little bit more absurd, So he says, put on the brakes, catch it, check it, change it. Just stop daydreaming, stop thinking, stop looking for evidence to corroborate your delusions. And, it can be a little scary. If you can't distinguish between fantasy and reality, if you can't tell what's reality and what's a daydream, that's a problem. That's a real problem. You got to be able to tell what's real and what's fantasy. And if you can't do that, that's scary. That's a real problem. You got to be able to tell what is reality and what is fantasy in order to function in the real world, Some Patrick says, and then you ban people who call out your delusions and try to get you. Yeah. I mean, that's a fair point, Patrick. It's a fair point. All right, guys. Well, I got the art class today, so I think I'm going to get going here. I'm going to go get something to eat. Thanks for watching, I guess. I'll talk to you all again soon. Pete says, have fun at the art class. I can't wait to see what you draw. I'm going to try to draw something unrelated to mental health. I'm just going to try to draw a cool design or something. I'm just going to have fun. I'm just going to have fun at the art class today. I'm going to try to socialize with people. I'm going to try to draw something a little cool and unrelated to mental health. And I'm just going to have a fun day. Maybe get a cup of coffee, maybe get a slice of pizza, and just have a fun day socializing and getting out and drawing. And I don't know. Maybe I'll do a marker drawing, or maybe I'll do an oil pastel or crayon drawing. I don't know. I'll just have fun today. So you should try drawing a bowl of oranges or something with shading and proportion. You know, Creature Juice says draw a Pikachu. That's a good idea. I mean, I think it will come out terribly, but I could try to draw a Pikachu. That's not a bad idea. All right, guys, peace out.